Okay. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mark Bodner from Winning Moves, and we are hosting the today's webinar on how SMEs can use big data for smarter business decisions. So I can see that we Catherine, Steve, thank you for joining us. But one other person just joining tends to be. We're anticipating a few more to arrive. So. Welcome to the person who's just arrived. I could maybe just ask, I think you've joined us BT, is probably your phone or what have you. If you could just maybe on the messaging, just put your name, we can tie that up to the delegate list. So yeah, big welcome to you. Really looking forward to the webinar this afternoon, which is being presented by Michael Rippon from Raindrop Digital. Michael is the MD. The organisation specialises in data, use of data and analytics, as well as agency, user experience, being a user experience agency as well. So lots of work around e-commerce and big data. The business has been going for 5 years, and they do predominantly work with SME. So hopefully very relevant to what you're doing, to what you're doing yourselves. We spend a lot of time bringing together different applications, different tools, and linking those up together. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Michael, and obviously to let you take us from here. Thanks very much.
Brilliant, thanks, Mark. Right, make sure everything is working. So just some general housekeeping. So please feel free to ask questions throughout. I think it's one thing with webinars is you don't obviously get the same interaction as a workshop, so please do feel free to jump in and ask questions. After the session, please feel free to reach out if you've got any further questions. And then if you do have a microphone, it's working, it would be really good just at the start, just to get a quick intro from everyone that's in, just so I can get a feel of who's on the call and what they predominantly do. So if people would like to do that, that'd be great. If not, just let me know and I can crack on. So I'll hand over to Steve first, if he could do that.
Hi, yeah, Steve. I work with data search just to get a feel for what other offerings are out there, really.
Okay, cool. Catherine? Don't know if your mic's working. If not, we can move on. And I can't see the chat because of my presenter mode, so the person that's BT.
Sorry, Mark. I think one and the same. I think that's Steve as well. So I think Steve's showing up twice. Catherine's microphone wasn't able to. I'm just trying again, Catherine, to see if I can unmute you. Yeah, I think you're unmuted now. If you do want to say hello.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you have heard me just now. I applied for the seminar because I'm always interested in data, and I want to know how small companies can put big data into practice, how they could use big data to grow their sales. Thank you.
Okay, brilliant, thanks. Right, that's great. So yeah, that's in line with what we're going to talk about, so that's brilliant. So I'll get cracking. So the main focus of this is to understand how SMEs can use big data to make smart business decisions. So we're going to go through what big data is, the value of it, how to become data driven, blueprint in a 360 view, and how to use data effectively. So you've no doubt heard the term big data. It's been used repeatedly in the media in different ways, but before we go any further, it's probably best to go through the actual meaning of it. So first way I sort of describe it is big data is large amounts and varieties of fast moving information that can be processed and analysed to create significant value. So essentially it's a scary term, but it's not as scary as it sounds. And what does actually make it big? So there's three characteristics here. Volume, which is data that has grown to an immense size, prohibiting analysis by traditional tools. The variety of data, so multiple formats of structured and unstructured data, such as social media posts, location data for mobile devices, call center recordings, and sensor updates. These all require fresh approaches to collection, storage, and management, which is why there's such a variety of data around. And I think it's safe to say that a lot of people always think, oh, when it comes to the term big data or data, it's always numbers, but essentially it's not. There's just so much information available, whether that's quantitative or qualitative data out there that needs combining together. And then thirdly, it's the velocity. So the amount of data that needs processing real or near to real time in order to get the greatest value, having it instantly available for customers and for employees. So these three dimensions combine to create data sets that are often different from a traditional data a business collects, but allows analysis 10 times quicker. So what's the value of big data? Well, we talked about the characteristics, but now we're going to touch upon the fourth, and this is the most important, is the value behind doing it, because it's all well and good saying, oh, we've got all this data available, but we actually really do need to understand the value. And many companies tend to struggle with this. They capture, like I said, large data sets. They incorporate all the real-time social media and location data, but they don't keep up with the technology landscape and how the data they're gathering can create real value internally. So if we look at some different sectors, especially retail, big data can be used really to provide more effectiveness on a promotional scale, whether that's pricing, store locations, or marketing to an actual individual. Finance, you can look at it from like a risk scoring system, different dynamic pricing, but also if you look at things how loans, mortgages and stuff are calculated, that can be done so much quicker now. And again, look at insurance, time for claims to be put through, claims fraud, reimbursement, and the tracking of people's behaviour. So, there's data coming in from all different sides, and these companies and these examples can show how this can be used effectively, but it also means they can be able to make decisions a lot faster. But as everyone says, isn't this just for large enterprises? But that's the thing, many of these companies are overthinking it. SMEs think it's always too difficult because they think it's going to be very expensive, they don't know where to start, or they're unclear on the value. But nowadays it's actually safer and easier to get started with the solutions. With everything that's available, think of like Amazon Web Services and places like that. Technology is advanced to allow people to get access to their data quicker and effectively. And looking at this chart, the speed and decrease of cost for infrastructure and hardware has dropped dramatically, and speed has obviously increased because processing power in computers and processing power of using cloud computing has been a factor here. Hardware isn't just relying on physical boxes in companies or servers in companies anymore. Again, looking at cloud-based computing, Amazon Web Services is a real clear leader here, has been able for a lot of people to utilize that quite easily. And also technical talent. There are a lot more data scientists, data analysts, and people in different roles able to come into companies to help with the widespread of employees understanding the data that they get given. So from all that side, big data is accessible, it is getting a lot easier, and there's a lot of data there for SMEs to get a hold of. But the main thing here is it's all about becoming data driven. And to be honest, it's one way, if you don't sort of get your head around data or think I need to use data as a first operative, it's very difficult to then make best use of it. So the first thing is that data-driven culture always starts at the very top. So companies with a strong data-driven culture tend to have managers who set expectations that decisions are made based on data. That's a normal, it's not a novel thing or it's not exceptional. It's before we make the decision, what does the data say? And the lead through example. The next thing is whenever looking at doing any decisions is using SMART objectives, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time-bound objectives. That makes it easier when it comes to implementing anything or doing anything within the business. The next thing is to choose metrics with care and cunning. So leaders can exert a lot of power on behaviour and choose what to measure and what metrics they expect employees to use. So, it's all well and good having all this data available, but the main thing is choosing the right metrics to be using. Especially when it comes from the top, because if it's reverse driven, where the employees have to come up with the metrics and then present them to the higher tiers, that isn't going to be as effective at being able to drive a data driven culture. So it's got to be coming from the top down, or vice versa. The next thing really in a company is not to pigeonhole data analysts. We find with a lot of SMEs and a lot of companies that analysts are sort of separated from teams, when really business leaders that have made this effective have incorporated analysts within two main teams, or they've got an external agency and they've interacted with different members of teams available. And that is a better way of being able to get data and make data-driven decisions with employees and the leaders, because if your analysts are all, like I said, pigeonholed, you're not really getting use of that. The next one is to fix data access issues quickly as well. It's all well and good having that data there, but if people can't access it in an easy way or even understand it, then that's going to be tough. So a lot of teams we've seen in the past have been started of basic information, and then they can't really get off the ground and become data driven. And then use analytics to help employees and not just customers. So it's very easy to sit there and think, right, by doing all of this, we make a customer experience better, or make it better for customers to purchase from us or utilize our services. But the same thing is as well, is to make employees happier. If you can empower an employee by giving them the data they need, that makes their job a lot better. But also it's about how to get them involved. So if you can sort of phrase it and utilize it that this is going to help save time, avoid them doing any rework or fetching frequent information needed as and when they want it, it becomes less of a chore and more becomes a choice for them to do that. And that's one of the better ways of getting it in. So, you know, if you take, for example, a call center, if they've got all the information available when a customer phones up, then that's going to make their job 10 times easier, and they're going to get on board with becoming data driven. I suppose one of the simplest things here is that, like I said before, everyone thinks it's just numbers, but data sources can actually be anything that involves your business. So just some typical examples, really, take a team of marketing and IT in different areas. You've got website analytics, you've got purchase history, or what people have used your services for, social media, email marketing, call histories, live chat, CRM, surveys, polls. All this is classified as data that can all be pulled into a one single source view. And the main thing about this is that they're about the single source view and utilizing that data as much as possible. So how do we actually get started with all of this? Well, the main thing is that we need to actually blueprint the 360 view of a customer, because by doing this, we get to understand every department, we get to understand what data is available, and by this we can improve it for employees because they can work smarter and more efficient, but we also improve the customer experience throughout the whole company. And what this means is that data is being used effectively, companies more profitable, and it's better focus for everyone. So what is a 360-degree view? So in a nutshell, like I said, it's about the organization's relationship with customers and making it more of an experience based than just pure transactional. It helps with long-standing customer relationships and positive endorsements of your company. It also means as a company that you can have a comprehensive view of a customer by leveraging data from all the different touch points in their journey. It does require an all hands on deck, and each team does need to talk to each other. Obviously, as an SME, there's going to be less people involved, but still there will be people responsible for their own areas. So by getting everyone in and discussing it and mapping it out, we can make everyone utilize data in the right way. But what does a 360-degree view show? Well, it actually splits it out into three key areas: the past, the present, and the future. So the past is really of how the customer has interacted with your product or service before. By having a 360-degree view, this means that you're easily going to be able to see the history of the customer and digest the facts about them very easily. So like I said, what products and service, what have they viewed when it comes to websites or recent campaigns, all of that can be pulled in. You've then got the present, so when a customer reaches out, regardless of however they've reached out, the company can know what's on their account, what stage of the buying cycle they're in, whether that is take a bank and someone's looking at a mortgage, you'll be able to understand if they've been accepted or not. But you can also understand their other behaviours, who they are, what do they relate to, what's the context of the interaction. Is it around a recent order or a current issue or something in the past? But by understanding these two things all in a single view, you can actually map out the future relationship. And using digital intelligence, you can actually understand where you can upsell and cross-sell, and are they intrigued by certain other service areas. Like I said, what are the benefits of doing this? Well, the first one is customer alignment. So creating a lasting relationship with clients is crucial. The use of intelligent and robust CRM is important, and that means that all departments can record and share the information correctly. It means that the data is shared seamlessly across all of your teams or all of everyone in the company, and it actually reduces the amount of error that can be there. So actually, if one team says something's happening, before you try and do a 360 view, you've got to then go and ask them or try an email and get all of that back. Whereas if you get things aligned better, you'll have that there and then. It enables predictive analysis. So by collecting all this different information along the customer journey, you can get a clearer picture of how many people might act, what are the patterns about each customer and their likelihood to purchase something. You can also understand if there's satisfaction or dissatisfaction in parts of that buying journey. You can help reduce churn, but also because you get the interaction history, you can actually map out an outcome as well. So it gives you that chance to predict what potentially could happen. The other thing is it drives customer intelligence. So the more comprehensive a data collection process is, the more fine-tuned you can understand of your customer, their behavioural information, their demographics, and you can understand their trends further. So if you look at this beyond analytics, it's not just the numbers. You can look at things from customer service, you can look at things from social media to help map out other customers that potentially could interact with the brand. And finally, drive customer loyalty. So, if you improve a customer's lifetime value in the company, you'll get a stronger experience with them. They will be with you for longer. So you actually make a lot more as a business, but also the customer will last for you longer. So, customers 4 times more likely to buy from a competitor if a problem arises. So if you can actually improve their experience by having all the data available at one time and being able to predict things better, you're less likely that customers are going to move away and stay with you. So there are a lot of the main benefits here of a 360-degree view. So from this, what we've got to do is look at customer journey mapping. This is the first stage of this, and this is more about understanding all the points within the business to be able to then map data to and understand what should talk where, what teams need to interact more, and where that data can be pulled in from. There isn't a right or wrong answer here when it comes to customer journey mapping, because every business is different and their sales or purchase life cycles are going to be different. So what I'm going to do is cover through a range of different customer journey maps that have been done in the past and how you could map your own. So this is one that was done for Rail Europe. All these examples we have implemented within companies. They are specific ones we have done, but these are ones that we are used when it comes to training. So if we look at travel, this is a customer journey for Rail Europe. Essentially what they've done is they've mapped the whole experience. So at each stage, they've gone from pre-purchase, which is the research and planning shopping, to booking, to the post-booking, travel and post-travel. And then for each one, they've then given what actually happens with Rail Europe. So in the research, they'll research different destinations, routes and products. And then shopping, they'll look at how that works. On the booking, they'll look at each booking step. And then from there, they'll look even further through what happens when tickets arrive, actually what's happening when they're traveling and post-travel. So if we look at the doing here, you can see across here of a circular viewpoint, and people are going to be using the website, they're going to be using live chat, they're going to be looking at other websites, and they're going to be talking with friends. It's difficult to get things like talking with friends in from a point of big data, but what you can see here already that we've got many different data sources being involved. So this is a good way of being able to say, right, at least there is the website, there's live chat, and there's other ways people coming to us. So we need to harness all of that data together to get an understanding of people in the early phase. From a booking point of view, people could be using the web, or if calls to the call center are there because there's difficulties booking. So there's two avenues here, which again need to align these together. The more they can be aligned, the more it's better for the customer. When it comes to post-booking and pre-traveling, you know, people can be printing e-tickets at home, or it could arrive in the mail, or they could be phoning up to check the status of this. So again, the journey itself is still involving similar touch points, but different teams can have information needed at one time. So if these are all in separate systems, it's going to be quite tough. So by mapping this out, this is going to make it a lot easier. If we look at the other side around actually when that person's traveling, this actually helps understand how they're arranging the travel, are they using the phones, are they using ticket stands and things like that. So essentially, again, this is another place for collecting data. And then finally, once they've done their or had their traveling and all their experience, are they going to share a review on the web? Are they going to need any refunds? Are they going to phone up to request a refund? So you can see from this point how customers mapping through from a travel point of view, and that there's data sources that are similar throughout, and all of that being mapped into a central system is going to help that company benefit more and give the customer a better experience. The next thing to potentially look at, and this is a different way of doing things, is a service blueprint. So these are used very much to understand customer service through a whole company. And these take a different approach. So this is all split into different stages. So at the top, we've got time. So how long is each step going to take? What evidence have we got, which is great from a point of view of understanding what data can be available and where that can be in a system. We've then got the customer journey, so actually mapping out what that journey is for that customer. And then the interesting thing is the line of interactions that are shown here. So essentially, the first stage of line of interaction is showing what happens front stage, whether that's an employee or technology. And this is really handy to understand where things are happening. So if something's more of a technology focus, will that have the right data available to help with any employee actions? We've then got the line of visibility. So basically, once we hit the line of visibility, this is all backstage where the customer won't see anything. So this is more where the customer sees something and more back end or backstage within the business. And you can see here all the different backstage actions, which can be how systems are linking together, or where the data needs to transfer to be able to present that in the front stage and then map that into the journey. So it may seem complicated at first, but when you do map these out with customer service teams or with companies as a whole, you get to understand how the technology is interacting, where the employee or the human interaction is as well, and how data can be presented to itself. So these are a really good scenario to be running alongside doing overall maps like the Real Europe, because these can narrow right down the technology that's used. The next one is a completely different take and a very interesting one, which is one that was done by Lego. And this is all about design and experience for customer journeys. So they use this to understand how they could get people to purchase more in an airport scenario. So what they've done is they've used more of a continuous wheel of before, during and after. And at each stage, they've specified what happens. They've used experience icons to be able to understand what the customer will be feeling at that point in time. And then from there, they've highlighted where they need to help deliver with the experience and where data needs to be used with an information icon. But they've also added in points where it's a make or break moment, so they can understand where they potentially would lose a customer or where they can keep them moving in this circle. So this is a completely different take on customer journey mapping. It looks at more from an experience side, but it helps to potentially present to some people where data is needed. And then you could then look at more complicated or more in-depth scenario examples like the service blueprint or the travel. So this is a really interesting one from Lego and something that's very visual. So it does help when it comes to presenting how data needs to be interacted with and how the customer is at each of those stages. This one is it's very similar to some of the other ones, but it's slightly different in a way of this is looking for shopping for a new car. And what this has done is this has been done more on a persona basis. So they've taken a scenario and taken an actual person. So they've built some demographics up about Eric, who is an emotional car buyer, and they're trying to understand how he will purchase a vehicle. The interesting thing on this one is how they're looking at utilising web and mobile and across what happens each journey. So, you know, the way they're looking at it is in 1 week he's going to be considering because he's seen something on TV, or he has been into a vehicle shop, or he's visited the website, or he's seen an ad on Facebook. So there's 3 different ways he's got into the journey. Then they put a time-bound frame of 2 months of him exploring. So he's going to look at different sites, all the vehicles in his budget. He potentially might create an account or save his favourite vehicles into a wish list. And you might download a mobile app while he's at work. So again, this is more interaction touch points where data needs to be available so that teams can understand what Eric's doing. He then could be on the 3rd stage, be comparing. So he could be looking at consumer reviews, and he could be looking at trusted individuals, or he constantly checks the site to see if any new options meet his criteria. So this is an important one where data can really help. So if he's constantly checking the site where he's comparing, how can the website be tailored using the information he's seen on Facebook, utilising what he's looking at on the mobile app to help tailor that experience? On the same time, how can certain functions in the early stages help bring Eric back if he abandons in the compare stage? The other thing is, along the journey, you can note down what he'd be thinking and feeling, as well as understanding where the gaps are in data so that you'll be able to improve the experience. The next stage we get is testing. So he goes into a car garage, selects a vehicle he wants to test drive. He'll look up a location of the dealership on Google Maps on the contact page. When he does visit the dealer, they're going to make him fill out a lead card or make him fill a form in so that he can test drive the vehicle. So again, taking more data in. Some places that could be by paper. How could that be replaced by a system, which means it goes into like a central CRM, so that goes onto the history of Eric's interactions in the company. And then finally, the negotiation stage. So if he desires on a car, financial part comes in here. So total price, monthly payments, things like the salesperson. So what data can be available at that stage for a salesperson to make that process smoother and understand the kind of things that Eric's been viewing before and what he's done before that. And then finally, how can it also help with pricing strategies? Not saying big data should be used purely to offer customers lower prices, but it can help understand what budget ranges he's looking at and how pricing strategies can be done as well. So this is a completely different viewpoint to the service blueprints and the Lego. It's a bit more in depth, but it gives you an idea of where there's so many different interactions and how different systems need to talk to each other to present all the relevant information depending on who he's speaking to or what he's doing at that time, and so from a customer, but as well from an employee side. So what we're going to do is go through how we can actually create a customer 360 view. So the main thing here is, before we do anything, is understanding the software that we've got currently at the moment. So, you know, from this point, it's understanding what different tools you've got, where the data is coming from, and how it will all interact. And one of the main ones here, before we look at anything else, is the software you've got that's collecting the data cloud-based or on-premise? Because this is where the key here is about trying to get things aligned. If the type of software you've got is cloud-based, that's going to be a lot more easier to work with, a bit more flexible than something that is on-premise, where it's within the building and there's potentially not many ways of connecting into this. Granted, an on-premise solution can be more secure, but for example, like one of our clients we work with, they operate on an old version of Sage, which has to run on a PC, and it's very difficult to integrate with. When there's power cuts in the building, the interim systems that do connect with that actually don't connect, and they cut out as well. So that can actually stop him from being able to utilize all the data he's got available at the times he needs it. So one thing there is for that company is we're going to be pushing everything into the cloud, which means wherever he works, he'll have access to that data to help the customer at the time of need when it comes to anything that's arising, but also understand how we could market the business better. The next thing to really look at when you're understanding your data is what can be integrated with. This is one thing that can happen a lot with companies is they purchase a piece of software, but they don't look at it from a longer term point of view. So from that side, they look at it in a sense of, oh, this is going to solve our needs now, but as they're growing, how is it going to work with connecting to other systems they've got? So that's one thing to always check out. Also, if there isn't any integrations possible from like a native point, can third-party apps like Zapier be used, or is it going to be a development resource to be able to integrate those software? The other thing to look at is tiered restrictions. Again, a lot of cloud-based software put you on tiers based on price brackets or what's available at the time. And sometimes, depending on what you want to do with the data that it's collecting, you have to pay for higher tiers. So it's good to know that up front before you go through this exercise, because obviously costs are involved. And then finally, it's a security point as well. So the thing about sharing data between software systems has a massive impact with GDPR now, because depending what software you're using, where is it based? Even though it's cloud-based, it's still going to be on a server somewhere. So it could be in a data center in London, or it could be a data center in Europe or America. So you've got to understand A, where that data is, and B, what's the processes for sharing data between platforms, and what do you need in place to make sure that you're compliant from a GDPR side. The other side to think about is how secure that software is when it comes to connecting. If there's a weak link with any of your integrations and there's an easy way for hackers to get in, then that is again something to be wary of because of data breaches under GDPR, and that can be more damaging to an SME than even undertaking the project in the first place. So there is always that urge of caution when it comes to this, to making sure you're understanding the security angle, but also understanding what other costs will be involved when it comes to linking software together to get that joined up view. So that's a lot of things to consider when it comes to understanding the software. The next thing is completing a full data audit. So when it comes to big data, we've got to look at it from a point of view of what's the quality of data that we've got available and how this is going to impact us. If the quality of data that's going into the system isn't very good, it's not going to work very well when you're mapping that over to other systems. So at the end of the day, this is all about identifying gaps in the company and identifying where the data needs to improve. So firstly, it's all about bringing in relevant stakeholders. It's possible that you'll have data living in different departments. Even though SMEs are small, you've still got different departments. You've got finance, you've got marketing, you've got sales. Even if it's just a group of 5 people, they're still going to be in different bits of software. So, each area is going to have important information about the customer, and that needs linking together, because like I said, sales might have purchase history, marketing will have all the website information. Combining those together will make a massive difference. So you've got to bring them stakeholders in early and have the discussions there. The next thing to do is review your data sources. The main thing here is to set up a meeting with team leads or send out a company survey to determine what data is available in each of those teams. You can then use that meeting and then survey results to understand from the key stakeholders who should be involved in the data audit process. The main point of this, though, is that all of those stakeholders should be able to tell you what data they use, how they use it, where it's stored, and how frequently it's updated. Once you've done that, you need to map your data out and how it's stored. So now it's the time to map where your data is. Are data sources in different systems or the same system? Is it stored in multiple places, which is causing duplication? For example, is an email marketing system got different information to a CRM, or has it got the same information, but it's not linked? Then you have to update it in 2 places. So again, that is simplifying that, but it's also linking them together. The also other thing around this is data stored in personal Excel files, in random emails, in different mailboxes? Again, another one on GDPR is understanding what the compliance is there. Ideally, storing information just in random spreadsheets isn't good under that, but nowadays it's very difficult to map that into software and linking the data together. So that is essential of understanding where everything is. Once you know this, then you can evaluate your accuracy and quality. So even just creating a simple map of each data source and who has access and needs access is a good start. You can then note the frequency of that information collected and updated, and by the end of that step, you will have a comprehensive understanding of your own information architecture in the company. So you'll understand where data is, the updates, who's responsible, but in a format that helps you understand the next stages of putting that together. And then from there, once you've understood all of this, you can then look at that accuracy further and what metrics you want to measure, because it's all well and good saying, oh, this data is available, we know where it is, we know how it's updated, but you then need to understand that, does it have all the metrics needed? So this takes you all the way back when we're talking about SMART goals and becoming data driven. If you've got those in place, you'll be able to understand that and then understand the gaps and the data structure problems and any errors that arises within that software. The next stage is all about then mapping out each of these stages so that you can then understand from that data audit the customer journey life cycle, so those examples I said earlier, and how the customer interacts. So like I said, there isn't a right or wrong answer with mapping out your stages. It's about actually walking through this as a customer and at each stage noting down what's happening. That's one of the best ways of doing this. Instead of sort of predicting it, actually mystery shop your own process or mystery shop your own website, but always try and take away opinion and think of it from the data-driven aspect of what's happening at that point. One way that we do this is to use a large whiteboard or a clear white wall in the business. We get some post-it notes and we actually literally just put post-it notes on a wall and map each stage out to make sure that that's what's happening. That's probably the quickest and easiest way, and then you can replicate that into a nice diagram for other members of the team. But essentially this is the most important stage available, and the one that will take the most time after the data audit, because you're going to want to really understand the customer and how those systems interact. So how can we use data effectively once we've done all of this? Well, firstly, it helps us inform marketing decisions. So with a more holistic overview of your customer's behaviour, marketing decisions will not be based purely on assumption and opinion. However convincing they may be, you've got data available to help you understand where the next decision is made on how you market the business. So you'll get an individualized view and be able to identify the most valuable customers with a 360 view. It helps you develop and deliver and cross-sell and upsell opportunities without then thinking, oh, well, if we just send a blanket mail out to everyone saying, oh, let's just sell them this, or we've got this new product, everyone's going to buy it, you're going to understand out your customer base who will and who won't, and who's at the right opportunity there. You'll get a better increase in retention then as well. Because of the information that's available there, you'll be able to get better customer segments. So from this, you'll be able to use your CRM data, your marketing data, and web data to be able to then segment off all of your customers based on their behavior and purchase history, their preferences from a lifestyle point of view, even down to demographics from Facebook. This will allow you to then understand customers even more to deliver personalization. And that means with all of those customer journey maps that we've done, at each relevant point in the process, you'll be able to give them more targeted information. That helps improve conversion rates, whether that's online or offline, which obviously then increases in revenue and has a better ROI when it comes to your marketing materials. So that helps address it from that side. The other thing, really, when you look at it from a marketing decision, a clear example is if a buyer is doing their shopping and you're sending them customized messages with information about events in that area or something about the shop itself, you've got so much granular data available at each point in that journey, so you can then inform future campaigns of what you can do following that. So it really does mean that you're more integrated into understanding the customer. And one of the best ways we can do that is looking at how this can combine. So if we have a single customer view and a customer bought product X on 11th of November, 12th of November, sorry, and then this product was shipped to them, from a customer view, we can then see that the customer potentially is interested in product Y because they were satisfied with product X. So if they want to know about product Y, we can recognize an upsell opportunity. And then potentially if they've been on a mailing list or they're involved in the company and talking to them more, they may register and you can give them a discount code, or you could do something from a point of view on that side. What this essentially is showing is that it's more effective and efficient marketing activities because you really understand where the upsell opportunity is. You get higher return on investment because the person's more likely to purchase that item, but also on their side, a better satisfaction rating because you're understanding their purchase needs and what needs to be offered. And also you've got a more durable customer relationship with them in the long run. So this is where my big data can help massively, because this can all be put into a single viewpoint and processed in the background. And from an employee side of view, a marketing side of view, and sales, they've got that information at hand, and they'll be able to present these kind of marketing plans or these kinds of ways of operating. So this is where it can combine in a marketing sense. The next way, and this is one of the biggest areas of big data, is customer service. And it's an area where SMEs can massively improve and massively grow, and actually outperform some of the largest enterprises. So, and the best way we can look at it from a big data point of view with the customer service teams is understand how we can deal with customers quickly and effectively to improve the satisfaction. No one wants to be phoning a company up or emailing support with a company and having a bad experience. So, let's take it from this point of view. So, customer phones up when they could potentially have a problem, and straight away when they phone up, the person in the call center could go into a CRM or go into the central system that business has and be able to get the transaction data from the data warehouse. They'll be able to get all the service call information from the customer service department in the past through those databases. They'll be able to get all the call history from when they've phoned up previously. They could probably then pull in all the information that they've interacted with them on Twitter or Facebook. You can always pull through previous live chats, and thanks to cookies, you can look at what they've been viewing on the website. So having all that information at once is enabling a customer service team to really understand the customer. And by doing this, it'll help them resolve the issue quicker or provide them a better experience. And from this, it'll reduce the churn rate of the customer, because when they're on the phone, it'll feel like the customer service advisor has been able to be more proactive and helpful. They're not having to put you on hold every 5 minutes to go and then look at a system or go and speak to someone else before they can deal with your inquiry. And when things are dealt with quicker, they're happier and they can become more of a brand advocate. So the thing with customer service is big data can help reduce the churn there when it comes to people contacting. They'll give them all the information at once to help them solve the problem. The satisfaction ratings in customer service teams will go up. Think about going like review systems that other customers might see. That will be a lot more positive, and you've got more of a chance of a lifetime value with that customer, because they will say, look, I had a problem, but they solved it straight away and efficiently. And that word of mouth will then help the business even further. So at this point, if you think from a customer service side, there's easily 6 or 7 different areas that all can be pulled into one single view to help the business. And when it comes to customer service, there is more than one touch point. It's not just about when they phone up. So, looking at it from an angle of how people approach this, A lot of people use self-service now, a lot of companies, and this is again where SMEs can make a gain when it comes to data. So if you've got information on the website, voice responses, social media, text messaging, live chat, there's all these different systems being used. But when customers actually do contact, a lot of the time they're looking for fast response times, consistency across all of those channels that I mentioned there, how knowledgeable the staff are, clear, consistent messaging. It's not always about having someone speak to on multiple points of contact. Essentially, customers now want things at speed. So this is where big data helps. So if all of these channels are aligned, all coming from a single system, single viewpoint, this is going to absolutely help the customer in the way that they get their support, and it also makes the employee's job easier. So the thing here is there is a lot at play, and one way that we can map this out is in this way. So if we think of it, how I've spoke about that example there, essentially we've got the customer profile, we've got their web purchase history, all information from a retail side, and we can congregate that as retail data from multiple sources into one central system. We've got all the web tracking, the live chat, the social, like I said there, obviously call center history and all that kind of stuff. That's all preference data of the customer in the background. We can move all of that into a central system. And then from there, we've got the customer service advisor on the end of the phone be able to access that central system to be able to then help the customer. So again, this is all using different data sources at all different times, and they can request that at once. So essentially, this is really a huge area for customer service teams, or even just small SMEs, even very small, 5 staff, being able to essentially provide a better experience. There's a client we're working with at the moment, and they manufacture and sell online framed photo products, and it's one where for them at the moment this is a huge area to be working on even harder. They've got very good 5-star customer reviews, but once you actually look behind the scenes, there isn't actually a central help system. Things are all over in separate mailboxes. None of the systems are aligned or talking to each other. There's no central system to pull any of this data together, so they don't actually have a single viewpoint of their customer. So as much as they do very well on a service side, when it comes to scaling up, big data is there to help them do this. So if they carry on how they are now, that's going to get worse, and then there's going to be a risk of losing that customer satisfaction rating. So this isn't just about like a large enterprise. This is available to small companies. So that's where customer service can be massively improved from utilizing data as much as possible. So key takeaways really from all of this is big data is accessible for everyone. It isn't just for large enterprises. There's lots of different software out there now that can link together. Results are only as good as the quality of the data. So when it comes to linking systems together, it comes to understanding what data you've got, it's always really relevant to understand how many systems can talk together, but then how much quality that data is. So, if you end up with multiple different data sources containing the same information, but then slightly different, if the data that's collecting in isn't accurate, it's not going to give you the right results at the end. So as much as it's all great here saying, yes, we can be smarter with customers, we can make better decisions, it's only going to be good if the data is good. When it comes to big data, it's all about putting the customer first, really. If you center it around the customer, understand where all those data sources are and how it all maps, you'll be able to get a better customer experience. And then essentially, it's all about removing opinion from the process and becoming data-driven. So, yes, that's such an easy phrase to say, but from a data-driven mindset, you'll be able to understand everything that's happening with the customer at each point in the journey, provide a better experience, and you're not thinking, shall this work, or I think this might work. You're saying, look, we understand that customers are doing X. If we do Y, this is going to enable us to do this. So they're the key takeaways, I would say, from big data and a high-level overview of what's available on the market and how things can work together. So that's where I've wrapped up today. I know we had an hour and a half, but I was expecting a few more questions throughout, but I'm around now to answer any questions available for everyone. And yeah, we'll take it from there.
Thanks, Michael. Some fascinating insights there. It's been really interesting. So thanks for sharing thoughts and what have you. What I was going to do was just we've got as usual with these things with webinars, just a short satisfaction questionnaire which I've just put up now. So if I can ask you just to answer those while we're going along, that'd be much appreciated. And please feel free to raise any questions. What I just really wanted to very quickly to share was this webinar has been brought to you as part of the Grow My SME program, which sits under the Humber Growth Hub, and particularly the ICT for Growth element, which includes a number of webinars, including obviously the type and a variety of different types actually over the on various different digital technology topics. So please do continue to look out for those. But there's also a program of support called Digital Catalyst, which provides one-to-one assistance to businesses on any aspect of digital technology adoption. So there's we go through a process of looking for doing an assessment of current digital maturity, look at the gaps, and then identify opportunities for development with different solutions, all free of charge as well. So if you're a business and it has to be an SME exclusively for the Humber region, and you think that sort of assistance to around helping with increasing digital adoption will be useful, please do let us know. We'd be delighted to speak with you to see how we can potentially help through the team of technology specialists that we've put together. So please do let us know. So this is about as much as I was going to say about the other supports available. Again, another opportunity. Are there any questions anybody would like to raise through the chat, or you can just unmute and ask anything that might have come to mind as a result of the presentation? Okay, well, taking that as oh, okay. No, that's great. Thanks, Steve. So Steve's just come back saying, no, all good. Thanks for your time. Thanks very much for yours as well, Steve. Much appreciated. Catherine, is there anything at all you wanted to ask, or you're pretty happy with everything you've heard today?
Actually, now got a general idea of how to use big data, but could you please give an example about about a successful story use big data to make some progress?
Yes, I think one of the ways I can look at this is e-commerce business. So there was a client working with in the pandemic, and basically they had data flowing in from the website, from analytics. They had no central inventory system. Everything was being done by hand, essentially, but they had a lot of data available from purchase history, sales orders, stock level systems. So by implementing a centralized inventory and management system, we've been able to link together all the courier side, been able to link all the stock control system, all the account systems, all into one area. That has taken data sources from loads of different areas, which was taking them a lot of time to process, and there's been a lot of lags in that process. The point they were missing, deliveries weren't arriving because they weren't getting the purchase orders out on time, because they weren't tracking the stock on the website. So essentially, by pulling all of that into one system, that has made it a lot easier for them to operate. So now that they're not actually having many items out of stock on the website, to literally like less than 5%, the deliveries are turning up on time, and from a point of view of suppliers into the business. From the other side, deliveries are being shipped out to customers better. So that's all from one simple system. This was only a team of 3 pre-pandemic. Now they're a team of 10. So by having a central system in place, they've been able to scale up. They've been able to sell more online. They've been able to get more stock in, and they've been able to then basically train the team up and make it easier there. So that's where using loads of different data sources at once into a central system has really benefited what the businesses work with, and hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you, Michael.
Great, thanks for the question, Catherine. That was and the explanation, Michael. That's really that's been really good. Great stuff. Well, listen, thank you. Just leaves me to say a big thanks to you, Michael, for your excellent presentation today. Really very much appreciated. And for our those that have attended today, for investing your time, that's also very much appreciated as well. So if you do have anything else that comes to mind subsequently, please do drop us a line. And we will look to make contact to see if there is further interest around the Digital Catalyst program over the in the near future. So, but as I say, thank you very much again, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.